All right, guys, welcome back to Dynasty Depot. This is the first time in, I think the last time we had an episode was October. We actually had to step away and do our do some personal things with the whole group. Excited to be back. This isn't the first draft that will be uploaded. We have a few mock drafts all set up. The first one is going to be that you guys see is going to be actually their defensive rookie draft. And I'm super excited about that one, defensive and offensive. As you know, we care about defense here at Dynasty Deep. But yeah, today we're going to do an offensive rookie draft. And I got Ryan with us. Ryan is new. Ryan's one of my old buddies. He has a background in football, absolutely loves college football, and I actually wanted him to be part of our team because I think he has a lot of valuable information to say about these rookies. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, like Andrew said, my name is Ryan. Background in football, loves college football. Excited to be a part of this. I love to have a different perspective coming from someone who's more college oriented, and hopefully add a different perspective and give all you guys something to think about for your drafts and for your leagues
Sweet.
as they go on.
So
yeah, I'm excited.
today and right now, Ryan's gonna take the number 1 spot, and I'm gonna take the 7th spot, and we're just gonna kind of commentate through these first 3 rounds. But Ryan's gonna start it. So what's your overall strategy when you're looking at your rookies this year? Like, how are you evaluating this class through and through, and what are you excited for?
Yeah, one thing I will say about this class is there's a lot of star talent. Over the last 4 years of college football, there's a lot of big names up here right now. For the last 2 years, you see Marvin Harrison up there, Brock Bowers, who's been dominating since he was a freshman, amongst other guys, and then you have some newer guys who kind of burst recently upon the scene. Jane Daniels being one, the Heisman winner last year. A lot of people are expecting a lot of big things out of him in fantasy, especially his rookie year, considering that he is a quarterback who can run. Yeah, yeah. But no, back to Jaden Daniels. And it was just, for me, I feel like there's a very high potential for him to be one of those guys who almost has like a CJ Stroud year, but there's also a very low floor considering, his beginning college career at Arizona State. He was all right. I'm not going to say he was the worst quarterback, but there's a lot of question marks. And he did seem to kind of flip that on the doubters when he went to LSU, especially winning the Heisman. But I don't know if he's going to have a similar road bump transitioning from the college game to the NFL, or if playing in the SEC and dominating has a different effect to where that carries on to the NFL and he starts at a little higher place at a different level than he did transitioning to college level from high school.
Actually, since you're on that topic, I think this is a good segue into this part. Is how are you viewing these rookie QBs this year? I know follow us at Dynasty Depot on Twitter, formerly known. Sorry, rephrase that. Follow us on X at Dynasty Depot, formerly known as Twitter. But I'm on there on record saying that JJ's my number 1 in this draft, and even with the injury, I am still putting him as my number 1 QB because we are looking at a dynasty perspective and how a career is going to go, and I think JJ has the highest outlook on this. You're just talking about Jaden. I agree, he has the highest ceiling but the lowest floor. I actually have him ranked 3 out of 6. I am not putting Desmond Ridder into these rankings.
Oh no, man, kid's an athlete. But no, I think JJ, I think he's gonna be an alright QB. I don't see him being a flashy quarterback, someone that you're gonna be talking about for years down the line after he retires. But I could definitely see him having a productive career, and one that can bring some fantasy value. But my top 3, I'm coming out with a very controversial one right here.
Caleb at number Williams. 1?
I hated this guy for the last 2 years. Not at number 1, and the reason is this is more of like a single year pick, which would be for this year. This wouldn't be down the line. But I think Caleb Williams, with what he's showing right now, the dedication that's being reported around and being talked about around that organization, he could have a really flashy year. And I don't know if defenses could be prepared for the production that he could bring But on the back end of that, similar to Jane Daniels, what's going to happen? He's a new quarterback, rookie in the NFL. He's going to have a lot of questions to answer. He's going to have a lot of doubters, a lot of haters like me, that are going to want to see him fail. So that's something to keep an eye on, but I think he does have a big ability
Caleb
to produce
Williams
a lot of points.
at 5. I have him at the bottom of the list for the starters, and this is not me being a Packer fan hoping that a rookie QB fails, especially for the Bears, like I've seen time and time and time again. And I will never complain about the Bears not having a QB, but sometimes it gets boring winning all the games. So maybe they've landed one here, but I've been watching some Caleb film, and he's a fun player to watch, man. He's a talent. He has the arm talent. His base is so solid. His throwing fundamentals are there. It is all mental stuff, which he is young and he can learn. I just don't know if he has the support for someone to teach. Who's their offensive coordinator now? Is it Cliff Kingsbury?
Okay.
Cliff has
I believe
the
so.
potential to do
Let me
that.
check real
My
quick,
biggest
but I do believe
thing when you look at Caleb Williams as a prospect of fantasy, you're taking him in the first round. He's a first round draft pick. Arguably, people talk about him at the 1-1. He's not my 1-1, but I think that it's one of those things that you have to look at how he's reading his progressions in the preseason. At this point in the recording, he's had 2 preseason games now. He has NFL film, and he has a hard time getting past his second progression. And when you're talking about preseason, you are talking about simple NFL defenses. They aren't hiding stuff. They might be working on some safety rotations, and yes, you're going to be looking at the safeties in the NFL a lot more than you do in college. But they're not disguising coverages. This is straightforward coverage that he has at the snap, and he has to extend the plays and holding the ball for 7 seconds with some of these. I understand it's preseason, take it with a grain of salt, but I just do not trust this dude developing into a long-term, high-producer fantasy prospect.
No, I mean, I totally get that. I'm sorry if I cut you off right there. But Cliff Kingsbury, he's at the Commanders. He's with Washington. And the Bears have Shane Waldron as their OC. Now, this is a guy who's worked with players similar to Caleb. He's worked with Russell Wilson in 2021 and Geno Smith in the 22 and 23 season. And for me, take Russell Wilson's year last year, however you want to take it. It's just another guy who's similar to Caleb's playing style. Maybe not on the dot, but it's still a guy who can run around and throw a ball.
Is that the same dude?
Or that's
that
what we've known him to be in the past.
Palmer. Or is that Cliff? Okay. Yeah. So
That's
actually,
Cliff.
I didn't know that. That actually puts up Jaden up on my list. But
maybe.
I'm just gonna come out and say it though that my QB rankings for this is 1 is JJ, and going down the line I have Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and then Penix Jr. And I actually think Penix Jr. is gonna have a great career. I just don't know when it's gonna pop off. Of drafting a Penix makes sense in the later round if you already have your quarterback for the next few years solidified on your team.
No, that's a solid list. Me personally, I have Caleb. I have Bo Nix at 2. Big Bo Nix guy. I like the way the kid plays ball. He plays it. Not a similar game, but he's fun to watch. He gets the ball around. Excited to see what he does in the NFL. And then I have Drake May at 3. Kid can flat out throw the ball. He has the build and the mindset of an NFL quarterback. He's not in probably the best situation right now in New England. He is in a pseudo quarterback battle with Joe Milton. They have Jacoby Brissett. I don't think Jacoby Brissett has a long-term outlet there. If you're the Patriots, you have Jacoby Brissett, you have Drake May. Why go out and draft Joe Milton? I don't think that that's their long-term answer. So I think it's going to be Joe and Drake if Drake can't put it together this year going into year 2. But that's why I have them there. Probably as just like a
You
wild
have him
card,
above
Spencer
JJ.
Rattler. I do not think that JJ McCarthy is going to have that flat. Like I said, he's going to get you points. I think he'll
Okay.
be a good fantasy quarterback. I don't think he's going to be great. I think Spencer Rattler is in an organization that if he's in a position to succeed and everyone is all in behind him,
I think
I think
Spencer
that guy's going to do a
Rattler's
lot of
next
special things out there in New Orleans.
Desmond Ritter. So that's what my opinion on that is.
I see why you say that.
He has everything. He has the weapons.
I see
He
why you
has
say
everything that he needs to succeed. I do not believe in his success there in New Orleans. But that being said, I think
Fair
that
enough.
we should
Fair enough.
start running through this draft. So we're gonna give it to Ryan here to take the one of one. So take us through your thinking about this. Who's your selection? Tease us a little bit before you give it to us. If it's not Malik Neighbors, which is my one of one, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, man. I guess we'll see what happens here. Yeah, to an extent, it will be a receiver, so you would be a little correct in that assumption. I don't know. It's just when I'm looking at these receivers, first pick overall, I'm a little bit conservative at the one spot, and I want a guy who's going to give me production. I want a guy who I'm confident not only in their year one, but how are they going to project down the line? Are they going to be consistent? Are they going to be a guy that their team wants to trust and that will be that guy for that team now, year from now, down the line? And I think with that, I'm solid with taking my first pick, Marvin Harrison. Look, guy's a stud.
I love the. Oh, let me start the draft. That might help this.
Yeah.
There we go.
Dude,
we're
I
all
hit the
going
plus
now.
button and everything. I'm
So
stoked.
the Marvin Harrison, and that's kind of the way I expected this draft to go. So we're looking at Marvin Harrison going 1, and then we are Malik Neighbors off the board, Roma Doomsday, Brock Bowers, then Caleb at 5. Xavier Worthy, that one's a bit of a surprise for me. I'm not a
I hate
big
that pick.
Xavier
I
Worthy
hate that
guy.
pick so much.
Look at whatever you want. If you look at the videos of him getting pushed around, I'm not even going to go
No.
there. I think Rashid Rice is the future there. I think that Worthy has a shot of being somewhat fantasy relevant, but when you're looking at some of these other wide receivers on the board right now, I don't think that's the best place to draft Xavier Worthy. Caleb being off the board at this point at 5, I don't hate. Rome is definitely an investment pick in my opinion, and I'm not high on Brock Bowers strictly because of his location. I don't like tight end in a broken Raiders organization.
No, and I get that. You know, tying back to the Adunze, you know, Caleb's gonna be the starter in Chicago. There's no question about that. That's going to be the guy. So taking him at 3, you're buying a lot of stock in Caleb producing down the line. If not, you know, where's Chicago gonna go? There's a lot of questions with that pick. I think the guy definitely has the ability to be number 1 receiver down the line, not only on his team but in the draft. But there's a lot of questions with that one right there. Neighbors at 2. I don't know. Here, hot take on this one, right? Kid's gonna be an athlete. Kid's gonna be a stud. A very bright future for Neighbors. Do you really trust Daniel Jones that much though? Like what are you
think
thinking
that DJ
about that?
is not the guy. I think that the Giants organization are aware of this, and when I'm looking at Neighbors as a long-time prospect, I think the next QB he has is going to be good. It's either Daniel Jones becomes a great quarterback, or they are going to be able to draft a great quarterback. There's no in between in my eyes of how Daniel Jones is playing. So they're either going to be able to get their man of the future with a top 5 pick next year, or Daniel Jones wakes up, the beard just made something different in him, and he's just going to be able to ball out. That being said, I think Malik Neighbors is the most talented going into this draft. Coming out of the draft when it happened back in March, Roma Doomsday was my number 1 wide receiver out of this draft class. I think he is the most talented, has the highest ceiling out of this. That has now changed to Malik Neighbors. But Roma Doomsday, I'm still very high. Harrison, you can't mess up with that pick, which is why it's a safe 1 of 1. I think his ceiling is
No.
his floor is very high, but I think his ceiling is not as high as it can be with Malik Neighbors and Roman Doomsday. And when I'm drafting rookie, it depends on the position I'm in. If I'm in a team that needs to win now, I'm drafting Harrison. If I'm in a team that can afford to have a player develop, I love the Malik Neighbors or a Roman Doomsday pick. I think that really comes down to position of your team when you're doing this pick. But this brings me to this, is I think that there is still an absolute steal on the board right now. There's 2 of them, actually. And I honestly do not know at this point. I think one of these should have been picked instead of Xavier Worthy. I think that this could have both gone 6 and 7, is Ladd McConkey and Keon Coleman. I think for this one, I'm going to pick Ladd here at 7. And we're going to see what comes back to me. Keon Coleman's the next wide receiver off of it, so that wasn't too far off. A.D. Mitchell's good.
I like A.D. Mitchell going.
So I picked Ladd strictly off of new offense, and I think Keon Coleman and Ladd McConkey are in very similar situations. They have a quarterback that can sling the ball. Then they're in a very uncompetitive wide receiver. I think it just comes down to who you like better as a prospect. And the Ladd McConkey pick, I think that, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Chargers quarterback. Herbert. Herbert can sling the ball, and I think that he's a better fantasy supporter than Josh Allen is, because Josh Allen runs. Herbert doesn't, especially with his recent injuries. So I think McConkey is definitely over Keon Coleman on this. So, but I want to get your opinion here. Brooks be taken on the 8th spot, and then Benson on the 1 spot. We were talking before we started recording. Neither of those are your top running back in this draft. So I want to hear your take on Brooks going 8 and Benson at the 11.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not that familiar with Jonathan Brooks' game. I still didn't have him that high up there. It looks like he is with Carolina, I believe. Carolina offense. I have them actually on here as my 31st offense coming into 2024, which leads it leans more towards running the ball. So that should be good for him.
Brooks is going to be their number 1 guy. It looks like it's going to be a mixed backfield with Brooks and Hubbard once Brooks comes back from his ACL recovery. So that's probably going to be early mid-season.
That is
what the reports are looking like, and it's going to be a split backfield. But I think, and everything that's coming out of camp and the Carolina organization sounds like it's going to be a Brooks backfield. It's not going to be a split backfield once he is ready and healthy to take on that responsibility. Which is why I think his ADP is what? I mean, I think 8 is pretty much where he's been.
ADP.
Trying to pull up his ADP right. So he's being drafted as, well, that's 67 through
63rd.
Everything. So he's actually looking at the 7 is in this rookie draft is his ADP. Is being drafted, and if I look over at this one, we are looking at him being drafted at 6. So they've been taking him at 106, 107. So this is actually good value at the 8 if you go off of that. So, but from here, I think everyone that I have considered tier 1, tier 2 of people that you can interchange with each other and going to be taking, I think at this point of the draft, if you are in need of a quarterback, my tier 3 is the quarterback run. When I talk to you about the 6 quarterbacks that were on my list, in order is JJ Drake, Jaden, Bo, Caleb, and then Penix. Penix is a quarterback that I don't think you take unless you have a solid 1-2 punch. And you can throw him on your taxi squad, or you can stash Penix for a couple of years, because I think Penix has the value, but that is a lot of investment for a rookie. So depending on how your taxi squad is, I know we're only going to upload the audio for this one, but I am getting the widest eyes right now, Ryan. So I'm going to let him. So
Are you about to do what I think you're about to
will be
do?
drafting my highest rated quarterback here at 2-4, which I think when you look at his ADP, we are looking being drafted. Where is he? 26 is his ADP. But I think when you look at value of quarterbacks in the league, I'm taking JJ at 2-4. We're just gonna let this go. I'm gonna pause it before Ryan's pick. So I picked JJ at the 4. Blake Corum goes right afterwards. Xavier Legette, Ricky Pearsall, which is my dark horse for this draft. Franklin in Denver, and then right out of Miami. So, yeah, what are some of your thoughts about this?
Yeah, man. I'll comment on the JJ McCarthy. Yeah, man. I know that's your guy. I just see a lot of other places to go with that pick. In that spot, I think there's definitely a lot more production. Down the line out of some of these guys. I'm gonna start with Pierce. I don't think he's gonna be a guy who's gonna do anything special for you now. I don't think he's gonna be. He's not a guy that you're gonna brag about week in, week out for the next 2 years, right? Yes, he's in a Kyle Shanahan offense. Yes, he's out in San Francisco. There's a ton of offensive weapons out there, and I think he's gonna be one, but I don't think it's gonna be now. But I do like Ricky Pearsall, in my opinion, over J.J. McCarthy long term. Xavier Legette. Everyone likes to talk about this guy during the offseason. He has an insane accent. But to couple that, he is in the Carolina offense. Staying close to home. Who are their wide receivers? He's going to be a wide receiver
Franklin?
3, I believe.
Carolina? Yeah.
Carolina.
When you look at
Xavier
Legette,
Legette.
I'm looking at the roster right. I know you still have. I'm pretty sure you still have. So you have. Oh, they traded for Deontay Johnson. I forgot about that. So you have Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, and Xavier Legette is the wide receiver 3 at the time of this recording.
Yeah, no, production. I think he's gonna be. He has an insane build to be playing receiver. He looks like a linebacker. An outside linebacker just running around the field, making athletic plays. And it that has nothing to do with football. He's a guy you want to get behind. I'm a big fan of that pick right there. And seeing Ricky right there is kind of hurting the heart. Then we have Blake Corum.
The Blake Corum pick, I
What's up? What
know you're not a big thing. You don't think he's going to translate into.
No. I think he's way too tiny. I do not see him playing a Darren Sproles type role.
Which I don't hate about
offense.
that. But I know that when you look at your running back room, though, I know your number 1 running back is still on the board. And you will be picking the 20 and 21st right here. So I can only assume you're going to go one way with this. You're going to definitely pick up a skill position here. But walk us through these next couple of picks, and I will resume the draft here in a sec.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start. Here right here with this first pick. Okay, you started. That's one. I'll go ahead and pick him.
Jalen.
That's first on the board there.
Yeah.
Can you pause it? Sweet.
Yeah, it's paused.
You got it. Awesome. So I went with that pick right. In New England, they're trying to figure out the identity in that wide receiver room. They have some athletes in there. I have a buddy who plays out there. Just some athletes. But there's a reason why they picked up Jalen. He went to the Natty last year with Washington. He was one of Penix's guys. Kid can play. I'm expecting long term, maybe not the flashiest career, but I can see him playing a solid role at a wide receiver. Especially if they figure out the quarterback situation in New England. I don't think New England's going to build to anything special like we saw with Belichick in the near future. But I can see Jalen Polk having good production down the line. And that's why I went with him with my second pick right there. And to tie this in.
Hold on. When we're talking
this
about
is also
Jalen
gonna be
Polk,
another
sorry
hot
to cut
take.
you before your next pick. You talked about the quarterback
fine.
situation that's going on in New England, and I am staying away from New England, period, in this draft. The only exception might be Drake, or not only exception. The only exception is Drake. When you're looking at your rookie draft, because when you're picking a quarterback similar with I think you're drafting him for a long-term investment. If you're picking up a quarterback in the second or third round, that's not a quarterback you are planning on winning the championship. But I'm staying away, especially with the wide receiver and skill positions in New England. You are looking at Jalen Polk on the most recent depth chart is the wide receiver one in New England. He has proven nothing. That wide receiver room is a demise. I'm just gonna read off some of these names. This is like the misfits of the island of misfit toys. You're looking at Jalen Polk. You're looking at Demario Douglas.
Be careful.
You're looking at Javon Baker. What?
Hey, stay away from Pop.
You're looking at Javon Baker.
That's my guy.
Jalen Rigor, KJ Osborne, and a bunch of other people that I've never heard before. Like, you are looking at a wide receiver room that is busted. You are looking at, I've said it, I'm going to say it again, the island of misfit toys when you're looking at the wide receiver room for New England. Sure, that means that Polk is going to get the looks, he's going to get the fantasy production, but what is that long term for a second round pick in this draft when you have players that are going to have a career barring injury, which I never draft with injury, and there's better long term positions in my. That being said, in a win now, Jalen Polk's going to see it. He has an opportunity to prove himself in the NFL, which is all you need. So we'll see how that translates.
Like I said earlier, and like what you touched up on before my next pick, I know that there's a lot of question marks in that wide receiver. There isn't a clear-cut 1, 2, 3. And I think the reason that the Patriots went out and spent their pick on Polk was to get someone who that they can get the ball to. You don't draft him where they did unless you don't see it playing out long term, or at least for the next 4 or 5 years. I could definitely see that happen. Really, it's just up to the quarterback. It's a pick that you have to trust your gut on. And I have no problem saying that, but I can see him having a great career down the line. And with that said, for my other hot take of the night, I'm going to follow that with...
I love that.
Braylon Allen.
I absolutely love that. We're getting a tight end sweep 2 right now. So let me pause this draft.
Wow.
If you guys listening at home, Ryan picked Brandon Allen with the first pick in the 3rd round. We're looking at Drake May at 2, Marshawn Lloyd at 3. Go Pack, go! Right. I'm actually not a fan of Lloyd. We can talk about that if we want. The Burden going to Cincinnati. Of course, he went to Cincinnati at the 4. And then you have Snot at 5, Sanders at 6, and then it is my pick at 7. Explain your pick there with Brandon Allen. I love them, but take us through that thought process.
I'll just start out here. Braylon Allen is 6'1" on ESPN, listed at 235. Kid's a huge back, right? Watching his career at Wisconsin, the way it played out, I mean, an insane freshman year. Kid stood out. Kid, I believe. I don't know if anyone's familiar with SEC Network, but they do a Freak of the Week, or they used to with Tim Tebow. And Wisconsin, not the SEC. But if you put that kind of back at LSU, you're seeing a Walmart Leonard Fournette. Kid's insane. He can run. He can hit. He would be that Freak of the Week guy. absolute athlete, and to see him go to the Jets, he's going to be a running back too, and I think he solidifies that role. And I don't think it's really a question of if he'll get touched. I can see him being a red zone back, and I don't think he's going to get the bulk of the carry, but I think he solidifies his role. I think they give him good touches this year, and I think he can fight for that RB1 spot down the line. And I think that's definitely going to be a pick that translates into the future.
I love it, and I just said it, and I'm gonna just go with it. You don't draft based off. I think Allen is going to has that high upside. My fear with him is that he's just gonna get shelled behind a Breece Hall, which is the workhorse in the Jets when he is healthy. This is what I say: you don't draft an injury. You never hope the demise of a play. As a pure prospect, love the Allen pick. I just don't know how it's going to translate into fantasy points. Very similar to the Marshawn Lloyd, except Lloyd for me he has a huge vision problem. He had a vision problem at USC. He had a problem in college, and as someone that's been following the Packers camp very closely, he has a vision problem in the NFL right now. No surprise. I just don't think that skill is going to translate as much as I want him to translate. But Breenan Allen is just going to get buried on the depth chart, and that's going to be hard for him to come up on. Not buried. He's only one behind. He's going to get snaps, but he's not taking anything away from Breece. The what?
How do you feel about that Jermaine Burton pick?
Jermaine Burton pick.
Jermaine Burton.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about that one?
Right after Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah?
I freaking love him. Of course, I think the Bengals have a problem, and that's one, keeping Joe Burrow from getting hurt, and B, keeping people off Joe Burrow. And I think they go hand in hand. It's almost like a what came first, chicken or the egg situation. The O-line, although it has improved, still scares me. And there was a significant drop-off in the Bengals offense without Burrow being. But with that being said, you have Jermaine Burton coming, who can, it's hate to tie it back to injury, but he's never going to take Jamar Chase's spot flat. But with the T. Higgins, I believe he's going into the last year of his contract. Does he have a good year? Or, does something happen? Would he want to remain off the field, not to get hurt, to go somewhere? And it's an if pick, but I think the kid's athletic. I think the reason why he dropped further in the draft than what his athleticism warranted was because of some off-field issues. But with that being said, if the kid can put it together, I think he can have a good future.
I think that is a great, and I agree with you. The Cincinnati wide receiver room is a mess, right? He's not going to take chases, but I think when you look at a solid 2, I think he's the next 2. And the Ben Sinnott, he has been going off. I love that. The Sanders one, we're going to see. I think you said you had Carolina as your 24th best offense going into this season, is what you said? 31st worst?
31st.
You have 32.
31st. Very low. I'm not a Bryce Young sympathizer. My 32.
Nice. Okay.
Patriots. Yeah,
I have Carolina at 30. I was not a Bryce Young fan. I actually said he's going to be the worst. Very similarly how I am saying Caleb Williams is going to be the worst. And there are a lot of parallels from my predictions last year to this year. Most notably saying that Anthony Richardson was my number 1 last year and he got injured early in the season. And guess what? My number 1 this year got injured early in the season. But we will see what happens with it. And this pick,
it's just a quarterback
this pick I got
curse.
Here, I know. You just don't want to be on the top of my board, man. It's the next Madden curse. I'm between 2 picks here. We're picking at 3 7. I am between Roman Wilson and Luke McCaffrey to pick up. Both are going to have opportunities in a young off Russell Wilson, right? Russell's kind of old. But I think between the two, I am going to pick Luke McCaffrey. And the reasoning for picking Luke McCaffrey, which is about on par, his ADP right now is 303. So getting him at 307 is definitely pretty much at value. I'm picking Luke McCaffrey here to get. I'm getting Luke McCaffrey here strictly over that of something like Roman Wilson, which funny enough, Roman Wilson goes right after my McCaffrey pick. The I'm picking
Right after.
McCaffrey strictly on the fact that he will be able to get chemistry with another rookie quarterback. When you look at having that chemistry and you're looking at a fantasy perspective, I'd rather have a young receiver, rookie quarterback. Both are taking first team reps. You have your rookie is going to be the starter with Jaden Daniels and Luke McCaffrey, a 3 receiver right now, but he's taking that first team reps right. And who's ahead of him? He has Scary Terry and he has Jahan Dotson, which I'm very high on Jahan Dotson, but I don't think Terry's going to be there. And I think Jahan Dotson and Luke McCaffrey had that 1-2 punch of the future of Jaden Daniels. So I'm going to take those two receivers stocks right now before they start skyrocketing under a thriving Jaden Daniels. Cliff Kingsbury at the helm. I think that this offense is going to be scary. I'm also hoping so because I have some Brian Robinson stock, which is still number one. That's a little bit side difference, a sidebar there. But yeah, I'm pretty high on Luke. What's your opinion on Luke? I know you have opinions on Luke McCaffrey.
Yeah, man. I'll be honest with you. I love the Luke McCaffrey pick. Yeah, he has a sports system. He has his brother, who's a star in the league. But I mean, you also have his father, who is a proven receiver at Denver. So it's not like he's out here trying to figure out receiver on his own. He has the support system to help him. I mean, you all have if you ever see the C-Mac stories of how his father was when he was in high school, very strict on what he could and could not do to help get him prepared for the next level, right? And that was as a running back, athlete running back. But I mean, you look at Luke McCaffrey, kid's going to have the same childhood. Kid's going to be top way. Kid was grown up, or he grew up in the same system his brother did. And to add on to that, his dad can help him in a way that I'm sure the father helped Christian, which is probably very, but he's just going to have that. You know, if Luke needs, hey, like, I'm seeing XYZ, what are you seeing here? I think that's going to translate, and I think he's going to be one of the guys in Washington to look out for in the next couple of years.
The one that took. I think he's better than the tight ends going. I think that there's some. When I look at my what?
Not a big fan of Ben.
I like the Ben.
Not a big fan
pick.
of Ben.
I don't like the Ben pick over the McCaffrey pick. But I think both are going to be produced in Washington. But I think to wrap up this draft, we're looking at the Luke McCaffrey. I picked up Roman Wilson, Corley at the Jets, and then Irving on Tampa Bay. I think Irving has a future in Tampa Bay, and he's going to be fun. To what extent, I don't know. But I think to wrap up this 3-round mock draft we did, I think we should both take a second to see what was on the board. And what do you think the best pick for value was in this draft, Ryan? I'll give you a second here. Just in general, how you saw the pick, how you saw the draft go. It's all right. You don't need to say the J.J. McCarthy pick because we all know at 2-4 that was the best value.
You know, very bearish on J.J. McCarthy. I'll make a take right here. That's coming from my genuine heart. I think A.D. Mitchell. I think him and Anthony Richardson develop that chemistry. I think he's gonna be a stud. I mean, also you have Luke McCaffrey. I love that. Yeah, no, I mean I'm probably stuck between those two.
Nice. I'm probably stuck between those two. Out of this draft, I honestly think that the Brennan Allen pick is probably my favorite when you look at talent, but when you're looking at straight up fantasy production for the future, I think that Ricky Pearsall is going to be a hidden gem and going to be a household fantasy name here in a few years. And I think when you're drafting rookies, you're not expecting, especially late in the second round, you're not expecting your rookie to be an instant contributor. He's going to play a good depth for you this season, next season. You just got to pay attention to San Francisco's game plan rotation, which is impossible to figure out. Shout out Shanahan. If you're able to figure that out at all, I think Ricky Pearsall is a solid pickup, and I think he's going to be a solid wide receiver here in the next few years. Even with the Ayuk contract finally getting through, we are just waiting for Jerry to pay CeeDee Lamb, and then Jamar Chase needs some money, and that's all the wide receivers. The wide receiver market will be set for the year. So I'm definitely excited about that. But you have any closing takes you want to put out here?
It takes not really. Just thank you guys for having me and bringing me on.
We're excited to have
happy for the season.
you on the team, man. It's gonna be an exciting time. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Hopefully, me, you, and Wyatt will be able to get pods up together, especially once the season starts going. We can get our shipments back, our weekly shipments. Excited to bring those back, but we have a few more weeks. We're in week 2 of preseason. Football can't get here soon enough. Roster cuts on the 28th. That's 10 days away. The 28th, technically 27th at midnight. And yeah, the NFL will get shuffled, and I'm looking forward to this year. But as always, guys, thank you for having us be part of your day, your daily commute. We appreciate everyone that listens, and go give us a follow on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Dynasty Depot. Kilger, you can go say hi to Kilger over. Kilger might be on a couple of podcasts here, and we need some more oh so serious takes. But for right now, he is our Twitter guy. So go shout out him over there and go talk to him over there. Yeah, guys, I will catch you guys in the next one. We got some mock drafts coming up. You guys take it.
Bye.